The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join hosts Trevor Current and Joseph Cristina as they serve up the hottest photography news and commentary.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 198. I'm Joseph Cristina here with my co-host Trevor Current. On last week's show, we talked about Apple's new product offerings, the iPhone 6S, 6S Plus, and iPad Pro, along with Sony's A7S II mirrorless camera. If you haven't watched last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at digitalphotographycafe.com and our YouTube channel, youtube.com/dphotocafe. Listen with the popular Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps, or subscribe through iTunes or RSS.
Hey, Joe, we are back. How you doing?
We are here. Welcome to another week, my friend.
Yes. Yes, another beautiful fall week here in the Northeast.
Yes.
It's been actually really nice. I mean, we're starting to get the fall colors rolling in, and we've had our very cool mornings and our kind of warm afternoons. It's real nice. It's been great.
Yeah, I'm sitting here probably about like 90, 88.
Yeah, you're still sweating.
Yeah, nice and cool. And then at night, sometimes we'll drop down into the 60s, but most of the time during the day, it is hot still. But that's the way it is. We're getting hopefully we get a cool winter this year. Down in Florida, guys, it gets hot. And the humidity, I mean, we're like an island, right? We're a peninsula. So we're sitting in the middle of the ocean by like 700 miles or something. Yeah. So it gets extremely humid and hot, even into winter sometimes. So hopefully we get a good one this year.
Yeah, keep your fingers crossed.
Then again, we don't want your winter like you had last year, where you're buying extra gas, extra oil, extra everything because it was so cold.
Yeah, no, that's not fun. I'm concerned about it as always. I mean, you hate the surprises, but whatever, we'll manage. We'll get through.
Absolutely. So last week's, we didn't really have a show. We did an update, right?
Right.
From PMA all the way back over in San Francisco. Which was kind of interesting. We did probably about 15 minutes together. We never do shows together. We're always on different ends of the U.S., right? Yeah.
It was nice to actually be together at an event again, and be able to spend a little time and just throw something out there. So we were at the InnovationNow Photo Business Summit, and that is presented by PMA, the Photo Marketing Association. We've talked about them in the past. So this was really a great event. And, it's kind of interesting the way this all kind of happened for us.
Right.
I've been working with this lady by the name of Georgia McCabe. She's actually been on the show before, like way back. Right. She was a guest blogger for My Current Photographer site. And her and I actually connected through Twitter. I mean, the same as you and I did, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
this was like in 2009, 2010, right around there.
Yeah, exactly. So Georgia and I have been working together for years. She had her own business, and I had my own business, and we were doing stuff together. I was doing some websites for her, some marketing and other consultation stuff. Right. And at the beginning of this year, in January, she took the role as the CEO of the Photo Marketing Association International, which was really a big move. She has been a high-level exec with Kodak and Fujifilm, and her husband have their own business. They actually created some amazing technology together that was sold for, I can only imagine, lots and lots of money. And so for her to kind of leave her own thing and kind of get back in the corporate world was really a big move for her to do. And then I was kind of sweating a little bit because I'm like, oh man, I lost my best salesperson,
Yeah. But I mean, look, PMA has been around, who she took over as CEO, has been around for, 80 plus years or something? A very long time.
Yeah. And, back in the day, they were like the number one photography trade show.
Yeah, think of it this way, guys. Think of CES in Las Vegas, how big that show is. and it would be comparable to a PMA show back in the day.
Yeah.
So
it was huge. It was huge.
Huge.
So we were actually in Las Vegas back at the very beginning of March for WPPI.
Yeah.
And we just happened to run into Georgia out there. I knew she was going to be there for the event. She was doing some stuff for PMA. We just happened to connect, and one thing led to another, and she invited us to go to a kind of a preliminary strategy session for what the new PMA was going to be, which was really cool, and it was really a great experience.
Yeah, and I remember the building itself was the Polaroid photo bar.
Yep.
And it's just amazing. They had a camera. They had a Polaroid that was probably like 6 foot by 6 foot or something. It's just huge.
Yeah.
And it would actually take Polaroids that were literally 4 feet by 4 feet or something. Just huge. And I think each shot was like $7,000-$8,000 or something crazy. Yeah. But it was very interesting. And it was only probably, what do you think about, maybe 10 of us or so at that little brainstorming session?
Yeah, exactly. That was just kind of like a preliminary, because PMA, the photo industry has changed so much, as all of you know. And PMA really was no longer the same organization that it once was, because the industry has evolved, and unfortunately their organization didn't. And that was kind of Georgia's mission now, is to rework the association. So we had our initial kind of strategy meeting to just get a feel of the industry and where it was at. And later in April, like a month later, Joe and I went to Washington, D.C. for a multi-day strategy session with like 20 or 30 of, the industry's like high-end people, which, again, really great experience.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's an honor, to be selected as someone that has some thought that can be kind of provided that could possibly help in this revitalization. And it was absolutely fascinating. And I think we did a lot of work. I know those 2 days we worked hard at putting together concepts and, kind of proposals on what can be done to make things work. Right. So it was very interesting. And then that kind of migrated into where we are last week or a couple of weeks ago now, which would be in Las Vegas for the actual PMA InnovationNow Summit, which now, instead of first being 10 people and then let's say 20 people, the summit was like 140 people of all of these industry leaders, thinkers. We had the likes of Disney and Amazon and Panasonic and Google and all of the big players in the photo industry as a whole, backside of the photo industry. That includes cloud, that includes the print, that includes all the rest of the things besides just quote unquote photographers. They're just taking the shots. It was a very, very interesting time.
Oh yeah. I mean, this wasn't a trade show. I mean, there weren't exhibitors per se, pimping their wares. I mean, this really was a big business and technology focused event. So, I mean, people were there to learn. They were there to learn from industry experts, to really get everybody's take on the different segments of the photo industry. It's not only capture, but it's sharing, it's printing, it's various forms of output, from...
Yeah, now it's cloud, it's backup, it's everything in between.
Apps.
And what I found was fascinating is seeing, the likes of, let's say, Disney speaking about what they're doing to kind of facilitate more photos being purchased and this, that, and the other thing. Kind of insider baseball with all of the other big wigs from all the other industry. I think is just very interesting. It really shows that they're really trying to make things work because they know, as of today, market is not the way it used to be, right? I mean, we know it as photographers. Look at your current photo business. If it is as good as it was, let's say 10, 15 years ago, you're doing really well. Yeah. Most of us are seeing a decline in different areas. And if you don't migrate to other areas, you become obsolete, go the way of the dinosaur kind of thing.
Right.
So, and that's really what this was all about, not going the way of the dinosaur, of just migrating thing into different areas.
Sure.
So, and I think they did a great job. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And just listening to them was just the thinkers, right? It was absolutely amazing. Really, really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so the photography capture side of things is just one aspect, and
Right.
everybody listening to the show can probably relate to that. But, there's whole other segments of the photo industry that, we may not even normally be aware of. But, you've got your output. So you've got your people who are creating the products that we're selling to our customers,
And that not necessarily is paper product,
No.
that could be any kind of output. That's, we had a company that was there that does all, like 60% of all billboards.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So we're talking about high scale, huge scale output.
Right, right. And they're
to,
evolving their business into these
Right.
consumer focused products now, from like canvas wraps to different ornaments and things.
Right.
Then you've got the online sharing and storage. So you've got the likes of Amazon there talking about their cloud drive and what they're doing to help keep the photo industry moving forward. You've got the designers, these boutique stores or groups, let's say, that create these very unique and custom products for customers. Now, that's not necessarily taking their picture and creating a product, but it's having them having the customer come to them with a bunch of old photos to maybe put together in an album to do retouching
Right.
for, or, to create wall art, to create
Right.
sculptures, like photo sculptures, not necessarily something that's just framed and hung. So really, I mean, there's all kinds of, and then you've got, of course, hardware manufacturers like Panasonic and Sony, Kodak, who were all there in different capacities, depending on which segment
Right,
they're in.
right.
It was very, very interesting.
I tell you what I found was really kind of fascinating is the idea of categorization of your images, right? Is they're talking about something around 2 trillion photos are happening now on a regular basis annually. And what's happening is a lot of these photos are just kind of just being sloughed off and being put into areas that are never found again, right? And what they're kind of determining is if we could somehow catalog them and now allow people to find their photos, we'll be able to sell more.
Right.
So a lot we were talking about back end, like facial recognition, other ways to categorize images based on color, based on who's in the image, on and on and on. And I thought that was fascinating because that makes sense, right? We're taking so many thousands and thousands and thousands of images now that we're digital, and now that we have one of the best cameras you can find right in your pocket all the time. But 8, 10, 12 megapixels or more, we're having so many more photos, but we can't find them. They're just disappearing. So the idea of putting the things into the cloud, let's say automatically uploading them into the cloud, and then doing some type of recognition on those images as they go up, so it categorizes them for you. You could now say, all right, I want everything that was done at my trip to Yosemite, and all of a sudden, boom, there it is. All of, every single shot that you shot in Yosemite, because it's doing, geotagging, and it's doing facial recognition, location recognition. It also does that. So you take a picture of, let's say, Yosemite, it knows that mountain. It knows that. So it's just unbelievable what's going on in the back end now when it comes to our industry. Really, really innovative.
Yeah, for sure. And, not only along with that, just being able to find our own images, but from a business and sales standpoint, being able to have these images cataloged and captured and saved also gives you the ability now to do more with them, rather than just sitting in the camera roll on your phone and not even really knowing what's in there, other than the handful that maybe you put up on Facebook or something. Now this gives you, the technology is there that allows these cloud services to interface with output providers. So now not only are you getting the cataloging and organization of all this data, but now you're getting a pathway to facilitate actually doing something with the images, whether they be prints or other forms of products that you can now get for yourself or a friend or family member or whatever. So it really, I mean, the technology is evolving so fast. And basically the general consensus of the entire event is just that, innovation. That's why it's called Innovation Now.
Innovation and one general API. Wouldn't that be nice? Right. And that was definitely one of the major points discussed is how do we kind of interact with the photos from all the different locations, let's say. There needs to be that API where, that interaction can happen no matter what you're using. So, but anyways, when you were there, what were you doing? I know you were working on for them. You're working on website. You were doing some marketing stuff, graphics. What else were you doing?
Oh man, it's been crazy. So I mean, I've talked about it on the show before. I mean, PMA has become a big client of mine, and I've been spending a lot of time working on various parts of the business. I'm kind of have been hired as a general business consultant, marketing consultant, graphics consultant. I guess I'm like a jack of all trades, So I've been doing all kinds of stuff. In fact, flying out to San Francisco for the event, I had to, hook into United's Wi-Fi and finish pushing the new website live. So if you go to pmai.org right now, you'll see the latest iteration of the website. So I pushed that live on the plane. And then, while I was at the event, it was kind of a slew of tasks. But one of the things that I was really involved with was doing some sponsor interviews. So as part of, raising funds to run this great event, obviously you need sponsorships. And but what we did is we did interviews with these movers and shakers that were providing some really great insights on the industry and what their respective companies were doing to stay relevant within the industry, to stay kind of ahead of that curve. Yeah, and it was really some great conversations. I would definitely say keep your eyes peeled. Those are going to be up on the PMAI.org website soon. As soon as I finish editing them. But it's really great content. You'll find some really good information. You'll learn about some really great technology and services out there. But I know, Joe, you were really, really busy too. But,
we started out with the website, the preliminary website before you did the main site. I worked on that for a week or so. Got that all up and running, and that was kind of nice. At least we had something to kind of start with. That was migrated over from overseas, which was very interesting. And then moved into more of a role of video and production, so more like a DP, and ended up capturing the entire 2 days, which was quite a feat. The way it was set up. So it was very interesting working with a lot of the, local 16 guys, the union guys, and working with the hotels. And it's always quite interesting, to say the least, whenever you work with the...
to say the least.
Because there's always this push-pull thing, and you don't know who to go to. So one time you're going to the hotel for something, another time you need to go to the union guy. And then the union guy wants you to go to the hotel, and then the hotel wants you to go to the union guy, and then you need to go to someone else. So it's definitely interesting, and that's the way always these corporate gigs are. I mean, I shot for the American Heart Association for years. I was their photographer down here in South Florida. I shot for CODA. I shot for Cancer, Jewish Family and Children's Services, a whole lot of different organizations, a lot of nonprofits over the years I worked with, and it's always the exact same story. It's just, who gets the work done. You have to go to that person no matter who they are, because if you listen to them, go to here, go to there, you'll end up getting nothing done. You might as well do it yourself. So that was very interesting. So now I end up with, I got probably about 850 to 900 minutes of raw video that I'm currently working on editing. So it's taken a little bit. Just one piece of it is like about 300 or 400 breaks, edits. So very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I enjoy
lots of
it
work
though.
on that
I like it. I like the role as DP and actually getting it together and directing and figuring stuff out and figuring out lighting and trying to get everything correct on location. But I really enjoy the nitty gritty of getting behind, either Premiere or even Photoshop or whatever it is to actually do the work. I enjoy it. I still like it. So that's what I was doing, I guess, with it. But I tell you what, I know you guys want to hear probably about the gear because we are all gear heads, but we're going to talk about that when we get back. But before we do, let's go ahead and hear from one of our sponsors. The 3-in-1 Photo Reference Tool is a versatile, all-in-one color reference accessory designed to help you dial in white balance, exposure, and color temperature. With its 37 anti-reflective color reference tiles, both photographer and videographer can take complete control over their color workflow. The front side features 19 color tiles. The large 18% gray card with center target makes autofocus lockup easy while providing fast in-camera custom white balance and single-click color correction in post-production. The 6-step exposure gradient provides perfect tonal reproduction, balancing highlights with deep, rich blacks in every image. Its 12 tiles of primary, processed, and standard skin tone colors are perfect for digital reference. On the backside of the 3-in-1 Photo Reference Tool, you will find 18 custom tiles. 6-step exposure gradient including an 18% gray tile, perfect for dialing in exposure and neutralizing color temperature in post-production. And finally, perfect for the portrait photographer, a unique 12-step gradient unlike any other color reference tool, allowing warming, cooling, and neutralizing color with a single click. From in-camera to post-production, the 3-in-1 Photo Reference Tool helps push your creativity to the next level, providing complete color control over all your imaging creation. Grab one today from your local camera dealer or visit our website at jcristina.com.
All right, we're back. So to kind of get into the gear a little bit, I'm just going to talk briefly about what I did. As I had mentioned, I was doing some video interviews with the sponsors. So I was actually behind the camera this time. I was not actually doing the interviewing. Gary Peugeot, one of the PMA staffers, he was actually in there chatting with the sponsors and really great stuff. He's definitely an industry insider. He's got a lot of great knowledge about, what's going on, not so much from the shooting side or the photographer specific side, but really kind of, in all the other aspects, which is really, really great. So it was really good working with him. But so, we wanted to create these videos that look good, but we didn't need as high end a production as, what Joe had to do. So for me, I was shooting with my little Canon Vixia. It's a HF S10, so it's a full 1080p HD video camera. Lots of manual controls on it, which is really great. So I was able to, pump in a couple of lapel mics and adjust the volume levels on it. I can monitor everything. I can dial in exposure, which was really good. It's not like it's a full auto camera. So, and I use these light bricks. Man, these things were great. They're called Yongnu. They're a Chinese LED panel, and so the model number is a YN303, like the Roman numeral 3 LED. So it measures probably, 10 inches wide by 8 inches high or something like that. It's got barn doors on it, and you can pop it on the top of a light stick. But what was really nice is it's got adjustable power. So you can dim them down, you can brighten them up. It comes with some filters, color correction filters. So you could make it more like daylight. You could yellow it up a little bit more if you wanted to warm it, which is really nice. It also has basically wireless connectivity between them. So you can control multiple panels from one panel. So when you sync them together, you can actually dial the power in, the brightness in on one, and they'll all follow suit, which is really cool.
Yeah, these things were really super bright, guys. They were really,
bright.
Really good. I was impressed with them, really, for the price. and you'll get into that after. But they were powerful, really powerful. The only thing that I'd like to see they do is just kind of be able to change the light. So you can do something like right around 5500 Kelvin, or if you want to go down to, let's say, 3700 and kind of dial it down a little bit, yellow it up. You can do that in the unit itself. Instead of having to gel. Right. I'm not a fan of constantly gelling. It's kind of nice with these because you have the capability now with those LEDs to be able to dial them in. Because what they do is they use two different sets. So if you have 100 lights, maybe 50 of them are, let's quote unquote, yellow, and then the other ones are the bright white, and they mix the two is how they do it. So that's the only thing that I would like to see. But they had like the barn doors. I mean, you had all kinds of, they were amazing. They really were. An Amazon product, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can get them on Amazon. They were available with Amazon Prime. And the unit itself, I mean, they're battery operated, or you can use an AC plug.
Right.
But they're like, I mean, just for the unit is like $68.
That's
and
crazy.
If you get it with the battery and a charger, it just takes like a Sony camcorder battery that snaps on the back. It's like $90.
Yeah, and what's nice about that though,
it's cheap.
What's nice about that, guys, is you can use the bigger Sony batteries. So instead of just using the flat ones, which make it a little bit more portable, but you can use the big, thick Sony batteries and have an extended period of time to use these lights. So that's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was kind of one of these last minute deals, It was kind of like, hey, Trev, we need you to do these videos. And so I brought a camera, and we were basically kind of scrambling on location to find out what we were going to do with lighting. And there was a photographer that was there that had these lights that he wasn't using, luckily, with a couple of stands. And I'm like, mind if I snag those? He's like, sure, no problem. And I mean, he was saying you can get like 2 hours of life out of those Sony batteries. So
it's amazing.
It was really cool. I tell you what, I've got some big lights here that are fluorescent tubes. Honestly, I think I'm going to be selling those.
Anybody want some fluorescents?
Yeah. There's some big ones. I got 3 of them.
Yeah. The LEDs.
Shoot me an email.
The LEDs are perfect. There's no hum. There's no noise. You don't have to worry about flicker. Just nice and cool. They last forever. You're not changing out light bulbs. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. This very little power. Like there you go, 2 hours from one little Sony bat. It's just crazy. So these are really, really neat. I like them a lot. They were definitely something to take a look at. So
absolutely. So you were shooting, like you said, 800 minutes of video, which is just a lot. Like 2 days worth of video. So you actually were shooting a little differently from what you normally do. Normally you're kind of using your DSLRs, but in this scenario, you needed something with a little bit more conducive to the environment.
Yeah.
Right?
So, I mean, many photographers today have played with video and will use a DSLR. So, I mean, I've used the DSLR for just about everything. So I do like a little ad spots and little shorts and whatnot. And, having 5-10 minutes on a DSLR is no problem. And they look beautiful. You slap on your lens, you get, beautiful depth of field. It looks great. It looks cinema.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you have to know how to use them, but nonetheless, the problem with them is, guys, and I'm sure if you've used them before, you have to worry about sensor heat up. If you're running for too long, the sensor will heat up, the thing will shut off. You also have to worry about how many minutes that you can record before you have to hit stop and then start again. And then you need 2 cameras, because if not, you'll lose something. There's a lot of problems with shooting the DSLRs for any kind of long form video. So what I did is I ended up bringing in some equipment because I knew the exact setting on how it was going to be set up. So I ended up bringing in the Canon C100 Mark II for the main camera. And I also brought in the Canon XA10, which would be what I call scratch video or reference. So we brought both of those in. I tell you what, Trev, I brought those in from this company called ATS Rentals. And I've rented gear I've been doing this for 20 plus years. I've rented gear for many years. And I tell you what, these people were absolutely unbelievable from the beginning to the end. Absolutely unbelievable. They really get it. I knew that I was going to be in an extremely dark environment. And I even had them.
Right.
I asked them, what do you know about these cameras as far as shooting goes? And I actually had them run some tests. They were very nice. They ran tests in the dark, almost, in very, very low light. They did some tests on that. They sent me tests on audio, sent me tests on the video. And so that I can see if this would be a possibility for what I needed to do. And it ended up being. So they were really attentive. I would say out of every rental shop that I've ever rented, these people were absolutely by far hands down the best from beginning to end. And even at the end, setting the stuff back, they just made it super easy. I mean, when I got the gear, I ended up getting a bag of candy, which was kind of appreciated, as well as, all of the labels and whatnot to just slap it onto the Pelican case and hand it over to the hotel and let them let UPS or FedEx pick it up and send it back. So it was just really, really good.
Right.
So if you guys ever want to rent any gear, definitely give them a look up. Once again, it's ATS Rentals. You can find them online. So, but this gear, like I said, the ultra compact, as they call it, that XA10, which I use for scratch video or reference, was a really good option for what it was. It was low cost, number one, and it allowed me to be able to pick up the, let's say, wide shot of the entire place. And the reason I had to do
kind
that,
of like the B-roll stuff.
Yeah, kind of like a B-roll, exactly. And the reason I had to do that is because I had to go and work in hundreds and hundreds of slides from PowerPoint presentations into the final edit. So I needed to know at any given time where they were in the PowerPoint presentations so that I can actually import the actual high-res versions and put them into the final edit. So it's a little bit of a task in doing so, but it ended up working out perfect.
Yeah, that was nice stuff. And that camera is basically like the big brother of the one that I was using.
Right.
It's definitely a step up from where I was as far as the inputs, XLR inputs, handle controls, things like that. But the kind of a lot of the inner workings were very similar to mine.
No, absolutely. What was, this was one of the cameras that I asked about shooting in low light. And my understanding, and after using it, I would agree. If you guys are a wedding photographer and you need to do some video, this is about, I would say, the lowest cost professional grade video camera. And as you said, it has 2 XLR inputs at the top, so you can bring in high-end audio at the same time. But it shoots in really low light, and the cost is $1,500. So you just think about the cost of, like, let's say a 7D, let's say if you wanted to use a 7D for capturing video, or obviously a 5D is a little bit more. But at $1,500, this is by far, hands down, if you guys are wedding photographers, you want to shoot, or any kind of event photographer, and you shoot in low light, this video camera is the best. I mean, it ends up bringing the images in 1080p in its AVC HD file format. The codec. But what's interesting is if you bring in that file, you can actually look inside the file itself, go down a couple of subfolders, and actually extract out all of the 2 gig raw, let's call them raw MP4 or whatever they are, files right out of it. So if you don't want to bring in, let's say if you have a problem with your editor that can't bring an AVC HD file, you can do it by just bringing them in individually, and it works perfectly. So
just dropping
them right on the timeline, and it just gets it. So I was using Premiere. So your what is it? If you're using Final Cut, let's say, I'm not sure if it brings it in the same. I'm going to guess it probably does, but definitely a amazing camera for the price. Now, moving forward into the, let's say the main cam, this thing was just unbelievable. Once again, we're talking about heating up sensors, and we're talking about length and duration of bringing in video. This Canon C100 Mark II, guys, is absolutely the cat's meow. It is unbelievable. It is a beautiful, beautiful camera. It has a super 35 millimeter CMOS sensor. What it does, which is just amazing to me, and how it gets this really great footage, is it actually shoots in 4K. It doesn't record it in 4K. It doesn't give it back to you in 4K, but it shoots in 4K, and then it allows the Digix, a DV4 processor to go and mush it up and to, grind on it and create a 1080p image from that 4K image, which is just absolutely unbelievable. So it's doing a lot of, secret sauce, a lot of stuff going on in camera, so that the 1080p file that you get, the MP4, is just sick. It just is sick.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so just a little frame of reference. So on this camera, Joe, you were shooting with a 70 to 200 millimeter Canon lens, right? An L lens. So Joe was probably 50, 60 feet away from the stage. And on the podium was the PMA logo and some text. And the video that I was looking at, that text was razor sharp. I mean, you would think that it was another image superimposed over the video or something like that. I mean, it was so sharp. And if you looked at the same text from the other camera, the scratch camera, the text was not as sharp. I mean, it really was.
Absolutely. I mean, and that logo is literally 6 inches big. I mean, the writing was tiny. It was tiny. And that's at 60 feet, 6 inches is, hair sharp. Unbelievable. So, as far as the camera itself goes, it does just like we call it the reference camera, the X810. This camera does have on the top handle 2 XLR inputs. And they are fully controllable. So you can set the gain on them from 0 to, I think it's -10 plus 10, which really is helpful. Because remember, when you're working in an environment like this, you're getting your feed right from the AV crew's deck, right from their board, right?
Right.
So we pump that in. Right. We're hoping that it's going to be right. But if it's not, instead of bothering them with it and say, listen, I'm hot, you could just go and dial it back right on the top of the camera. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So anyways, the MP4 files that this thing makes were absolutely stellar. It shoots up to 60 frames per second, which is great because you can do slow-mo with it. And I know there's a lot of guys out there that shoot this camera for doing a lot of slow-mo things, and it really works out good. So what I think is one of the items that I would say, is this a camera for you or is it not a camera for you? Price is it's a little bit high. The price on it is $5,500. The thing is,
and that's body only, right?
That is body only. You need your own glass, right? So if you are a Canon shooter, I would say that this is definitely a possibility. At $5,500 is the equivalent to, let's say, 2, 5D Mark IIIs or whatnot, let's say. But the thing is you're getting, you don't have to worry about sensor heat up. It actually has an intake and an exhaust fan that's about the size of my hand. They're huge, like built into the body itself.
Right.
So you never have to worry about heat up. You can actually shoot literally 2 hours of footage straight without even worrying about it at all, or even longer. With I think we used 128 gigabyte SD cards. I was able to get just about an entire day on one SD card, which is just amazing, instead of swapping. And what's cool is that it allows you it has 2 SD card holders. It allows you to put 2 SD cards in it and either write a copy so you have a backup on the fly, or you can write right across the 2 progressively or continuously. So once one is filled, before it's completely filled, it immediately moves on to the next card and just keeps going seamlessly.
Right.
So it's just, coming from a DSLR shooting environment and have shot a lot of HD video, like I said, for ads and whatnot, using this camera is like when I used the Hasselblads for fashion shoots in comparison using a DSLR. It's literally head and shoulders above, night and day. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it just gives you the ability to take it to the next level. Yeah. The DSLR video is beautiful, and when done properly, it's cinematic. It's gorgeous. You watch it up on the big screen, but depending on the circumstance, depending on the event and what you're shooting, taking it to the next level with the C100 or comparable, allowing you to use your own lenses, which I think is huge too.
Absolutely.
You're not locked into whatever optics they put in an autofocus, super zoom,
Right.
compact camcorder or whatever.
Yeah.
You can really dial it in. Because, I tell you, if you had another one of these sitting right next to it with like your 24 to 70 on it, for a wide shot, and you're using your 70 to 200 for your close-ups, that would be just absolute gorgeous. Unfortunately, the budget didn't allow for that.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it was just, the quality is just amazing. I'm blown away. I know PMA is going to be blown away.
Yeah.
And all of the members, when they go to watch this video and kind of relive the experience, they're going to be blown away.
Yeah,
as well.
I tell you one thing that really is quite helpful. Even though you're using, let's say, your 24 to 70 or 70 to 200, or maybe you snap on a macro 90 and you do some pans over a wedding ring with this thing or something crazy like that. What is really good is that if your lens is on autofocus, okay, it will use your lens's internal motors and dial in focus continuously. It's continuously focusing based on what you tell it to focus on, which is amazing. What's nice is since you have this external lens sitting there, once you get focused just right and you want to leave it right where it is, instead of playing with the menu or doing anything else, you just simply just slip your autofocus to manual focus, and then that's it. It can't lock in photo. It won't move autofocus any longer, which is fun to be able to do it. That just works out really good. So all in all, this camera was just unbelievable. It was a lot of fun to use, but the final output, like you said, is just really, really unbelievable. It really came out really nice. And, moving forward, this is going to be, I think, my go-to camera. I'm going to, I think, either rent this in when needed, or I'm going to pick one up for the studio, because it is definitely that good for sure.
Put it on your Christmas list, my friend.
I know, right? I should do that, right? maybe that fat guy will bring it to me. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. So anyways, we should get out of here. What do you think?
Yeah. It's running long, but all good stuff, and we want to share our experiences with you. So we hope you enjoyed it and got a little something from it. So, Joe, if people want to connect with you outside of the show, what is the best way for them to reach you?
All right, guys. You can find me on Twitter, and that's @JosephChristina, and that's Cristina without an H.
Great. And you can connect with me on Twitter. It's @Trevor Curran.
All right, guys. We are out of here for yet another week. You can get all the show notes from this episode by visiting digitalphotographycafe.com. Or, don't forget, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/dphotocafe. And we'll see you next week.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe show with Trevor Curran and Joseph Cristina. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with any compatible device by visiting youtube.com/dphotocafe. Be sure to subscribe to our audio feed through iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps, or through RSS. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect